The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They prize support UK and Irish racing the night before.
Hi there, a very warm welcome to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and joining me in the studio is Graham Rodway from the Racing Post tipping desk. We've also got a warm postcast welcome back over in Ireland in the Racing Post offices in Capel Street is Brendan Duke, who is now, what are you now, an international racing expert? I can't remember what we decided to call you, Brendan.
An independent racing expert.
An independent racing expert, yeah.
I've had a few cards printed if you want me to send you one.
That would be good, yes, please. Please do that. And also, your erstwhile colleague from Paddy Power, he's still there, Rob Catterson. Rob's got all the markets and tips. Were you two pals when you worked together, Rob and Brendan?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, yeah.
You sound a bit more enthusiastic about it, Rob. You saying what was your downer on Rob, Brendan?
No, well, I mean, I didn't see a huge amount of him because Rob's not a smoker, and being in a different department, I only really know the smokers from different. But I used to meet him every so often in the corridor, and he always had our back. If there was some breaking news on a big race, he'd always send the horse racing traders an email just in case we missed it, which often we did. He's a good man.
Excellent. Right, well, what we've got coming up is on Saturday, we've got Sandown, which is the feature meeting of the day, featuring the Tolworth Hurdle. That's the main race, but there's also some decent other stuff there. We've got a couple at Wincanton, which are on ITV, and then we've got in Ireland, decent fare over at Naas. So hopefully we've got every base covered. Before we get stuck in, we will have a quick word about the fact that you may have noticed, if you're a Racing Post reader, we've done roughly 338 stories in it, I think, in the last week. But ITV has taken over from Channel 4 as the terrestrial broadcaster. And G-Rod, their debut took place in hideous conditions, but they didn't scamper off to a studio. They grinned and bared it in the paddock. What mark out of 10 would you give their debut transmission?
Yeah, I thought it was. They did a good enough job. I thought sort of
well, what's your mark out of 10? 6 or 7, yeah?
Yeah. I think there's scope for improvement there, but they weren't very lucky, were they, with the weather? I know one of their big things for the new broadcast is to bring it outside. You know, try and get the atmosphere of the whole thing. It was one of the big criticisms, really, of the old Channel 4 was maybe that they got stuck in the studio a little bit too much, and I think that is quite a valid point. I do like to get a little bit of the atmosphere, especially at the big fixtures.
What was the best thing they did, and what was the thing that they should improve on?
Well, I mean, it's a tough balance because they're trying to bring in a new audience, but they're also trying to keep us happy, you know, that are all. So, I mean, that, you know, possibly their full analysis was a little bit dumbed down, but that's to be expected, I think, when you're trying to speak to a different audience. But I liked a couple of their features, and I thought it was a solid start.
Rob, what would you give them out of 10?
Probably a 7. Like, there was an awful lot of good points. I thought a lot of the presenters maybe were trying a little bit too hard. You could see they were getting a bit nervous. Like, Ed Chamberlain's obviously great, but himself and Luke Harvey they just kept laughing for no reason and stuff like that, which was probably nerves more than anything else. I thought AP was great. I thought Mick Fitz was great. The opening montage, I don't know if it happened on ITV. I was watching it on the 3E, but it was brilliant.
Yeah,
and they were showing all
lots of nostalgia by the bucket.
It was brilliant, and it was all the old races and all the old commentaries. And then I don't know if it happened just here or in the UK, but it just stopped and they just went to a wide shot of Cheltenham Racecourse as halfway through it. So I don't know if that was just a thing in Ireland, but it was a great opening montage, and I'd say in the long run, I'd say they'll get it right.
Okay, and Brendan, it slightly passed you by, didn't it? Because your intimate knowledge of your available channels let you down a little, didn't it?
Yes, poor show from me. Or, well, you could argue poor show from the 3E marketing department. I didn't even know I had the channel. So I thought if it wasn't on TV3, I couldn't watch it. But I did, of course. It lit up my Twitter timeline. And they certainly passed most of the people most of the time test on there, particularly friend of the Postcast, Ed Chamberlain. No, not a bad word to say about him.
No, that was good, wasn't it?
Well, given who he was taken over from as well. I mean, I thought it was a bit of a poison chalice taken over from the Lucky Monster, but not a bother on him. So, I'll watch it. It might be on TV3 tomorrow. So,
okay.
Or we'll be on. I know I have 3E. I'll watch it tomorrow.
Have a good flick through the outer reaches of your TV box, and I'm sure you'll stumble across it. It's on ITV4 over in Britain tomorrow, and the highlight at 2:25 is the 32 Red Tolworth Novices Hurdle, a Grade 1 that has thrown up the likes of York Hill and Lammy Surge in recent years. And we've got a Nichols v Tizard battle again, haven't we? And I think they dominate the market, don't they, Rob?
Yeah, they do. At the moment, Capitan is just marginally favoured. Obviously, shorter now that Nicky Henderson's mare hasn't been declared. So we're 6-4 Capitan. We're 13-8 Finian's Oscar, 6-1 Charlemagne's, 9-1 Chelonial, and then 16 Celestial Path. And the outsider is Global Stage at 20-1.
And the aforementioned Nicky Henderson representative, Kaith Grace, who, much to your chagrin, G-Rod, hasn't made the cut despite you putting her up in the weekender.
Yeah, I did quite like her chances. I was quite surprised when I didn't see her declared. It's an interesting race, isn't it? We're looking really at horses that are still potentially top class rather than having proved themselves as such yet. Capitan with a really solid effort last time at Ascot. We've given a lot of weight to some useful novices, headed by Captain Forres, who was second. I know that one's highly regarded down at Dan Skelton's. I thought it was a very good run and by far the best form on offer. But of course we've got Finian's Oscar in there, who seems to be very highly regarded by Colin Tizard, won nicely at Hereford, could be absolutely anything. And to be fair, the same remarks go about Chelonial and Charlemagne's, and even to some degree Global Stage and Celestial Path was a useful flat horse. So it's a hard race for me to punt on, but it's a cracking race to watch.
Are you going to have a small bet, do you think, or will you just watch?
Well, I think Capitan will win, you see, and the problem with that is it's obviously favourite about 6-4, and you can't really have a small bet at 6-4, and I don't like backing at 6-4 when there's a bunch of unexposed, potentially useful types against it, which there are.
OK, so the favourite Capitan for you, but probably not a huge betting heat.
Yeah, I think Capitan will win, but it's not a massive bet.
Brendan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think looks a really hot race actually for the 6 runners or whatever it is. I can see Capitan. I don't think the ground's too much of a worry. He did get beaten on soft ground in Haydock, but I think both David Jennings and Nichols think it was tactics got him beat that day. So I think he'll be all right in the ground. Charlemagne's. I don't think it was much of a race he won in Aintree, but it couldn't have been more impressive. This Finian's Oscar so interesting. I mean, Tizard clearly loves the horse and cost 250,000. Beat a good one of Fry's the last day as well, but just the drop and trip doesn't look an obvious one to me. Although Tizard can do no wrong, so probably the drop and trip isn't that big of a worry. But the one I liked actually was that Chelonial, who's a big raw horse now. He mightn't know enough at this stage. And he was quite weak in the betting at Bangor on his comeback. But he jumped well in the main. A couple of sloppy mistakes, but I think it was as much he was losing concentration. This race, despite the small field, there should be a decent pace on because Capitan will probably take it out. And if he doesn't, Finian's Oscar won't want to dawdle. So I think he can step up plenty with a decent pace to run at. He'll have to, but he's 9-1. That seems a
Will you have a little play there, Brendan?
Yeah, 9-1. I can't do much damage at those prices, can I?
You certainly can't. Rob, have you got a view?
Yeah, pretty much similar to what Brennan says. It's a good race. I think the favourite's very much worth taking on. Paul Nicholls hasn't won it for 9 years or so, and I think this Finian's Oscar, if there's going to be a Grade 1 horse in the field, I think it's going to be him. He was very good at Hereford, and Colin Tizard couldn't speak highly enough of him. So he's 13-8. I'd say he'll get 2-1 in the morning. So him in the morning is the bet.
Okie dokie, 12:45. Let's go there next. It's the 32red.com Mares Hurdle and Paddy Power bet as follows, Rob.
Yeah, good race. 9-4 about Life Potent Mona. We're 7-2 Briery Queen, 4-1 Desert Queen, 5-1 Midnight Jazz, and 6s and bigger the rest. And
who do you like, Rob? We'll stick with you first.
Yeah, just there's a line of form between the top two in the betting. Briery Queen beat Life Potent Mona in that good listed bumper at Navan or at Sandown March of 2 seasons ago, and she's tough. I thought she was good when she won in her most recent start, so I think Briery Queen could be this favourite.
Briery Queen for Rob. Who for you, G-Rod?
Well, as we know, I don't really like mares races. You know, I really don't like these sorts of races.
Do you think they should just take the allowance and run against the boys?
Yeah, that would be fine to suit me. I know that it's great for the breeding, whatever, to have
black
these races.
Type.
Yeah, all that nonsense. Do we really need black type in this era? When
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's a bit. It's kind of like, I always think of black type as one of those things like if you buy a second-hand car and it's got, it's advertised as having go full service history or something. It's just a bit kind of spurious, isn't it? There must be a more scientific way.
You can finish.
Perhaps ratings, like racing post ratings.
Well, quite exactly.
Ratings,
yeah.
official ratings.
Can't you finish 40 lengths third in a listed race?
Exactly.
I don't know.
But
whatever.
Black type might have had it. We should do a feature on that. Has black type had its day?
Yeah, well, it definitely has. Anyway, something's got to win it, I suppose, haven't they? And I like Desert Queen. She is the oldest in the field, and I suppose a few people might be a little bit disappointed if she wins because there's maybe a few more unexposed and potentially smart horses in it. But I think from a form perspective, she's got the most solid claims, and that's not really reflected in the betting. I think she's third or fourth in behind a couple of horses that I think have got it to find on form with her.
So you're going Desert Queen?
Yeah.
Brendan, by the way, I used to have a friend who, when they used to have, it's all done online now, obviously, but second-hand car ads, they used to have all those kind of FSH for full service history and, EW for electric windows. And I used to have a friend who used to think they should have one that said RCG, which is regular churchgoer, to indicate that it was a kind of sensible driver who maybe just took it out once a week.
Oh, yes, that's the kind of one lady owner principle, isn't
exactly,
it?
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
You'd be more likely to buy a car if it was RCG, wouldn't you? Don't you think?
Oh, definitely, because they're less likely to rob you as well.
Well, quite, exactly.
Yeah.
So, also, I always used to know a guy who always used to get his tradesmen who advertised in the parish magazine because that was always a good way of getting people who are scrupulous. Anyway, the 32red.com Mares Hurdle, who wins?
Well, I mean, it's a very, very trappy race, like almost every race tomorrow, as far as I can see. But it's the turn of the year, and that can mean only one thing. It's Janisha time. So the whole Tara flow, 8-1 with Paddy Power. Is that right, Rob?
Yeah, that's it.
Seems perfectly fair to me. This mare, despite looking like she's made for chase and plenty of scope, has no love for fences at all. Dreadful technique. But she has some pretty useful novice hurdle form. She kicked the organist out of the way last year, and that stacks up pretty well here. 8-1 seems more than fair to me.
Okay, right, let's move on to the 150 next. It's the 32 Red Casino Handicap Chase. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. Irksome. Only that's it out the game for each way purposes, but a decent race. Plenty of old favourites here. G-Rod, you kick us off.
Yeah, one of the bets of the weekend, I think, runs in this one. I can't pronounce it, though.
Oh, my goodness. You must be talking about the Faith Stream.
Yeah, you got it.
How would you say that, Brennan?
The Faith Stream?
Yeah.
The Faith Stream? This is Irish again, is it?
Well, I don't know, actually.
Is it Welsh?
It starts off looking like
Welsh.
an Irish word, but then the word dream tacked on the end possibly suggests it's not that Gaelic. Anyway, why will it win, Brian?
Appears to be improving, which is a bit strange, really, because he's had loads of runs and he's an 11-year-old now with the turn of the year. But last two runs before falling were career best on Racing Post ratings, an easy win at Ayr at the end of last season, and then, although finishing fourth at Cheltenham, looked in need of the run, made most of the running and I thought was going to win, but then blew up. Now, last time went back to Cheltenham and again looked like he was going to win when coming down 3 out, was miles clear at the time. Now, he's only trading at 2.2 in running, so we're not saying he was certainly going to win, but he would certainly be placed, I'd say. Personally, I think he would have won. And had he won, he would have been off a lot higher mark than 134. And I think this track will suit him. It's a stiff test to jump in at Sandown. He seems to be suited by that. He's gone well at Cheltenham several times before. He's a front runner. I can just see him blasting away down those 7, down the back straight, getting clear. And they might struggle to pick him back.
How much are you going to have on him?
He's not a maximum bet, but he's more than an average win bet, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
What figures? A 2-figure bet? Or
I think
edge into the 3 figures?
I think a high 2-figure bet.
Okay, mate. Excellent. Brendan, who do you think will win this one?
Oh, again, very tricky. Like Gardla Victoire is the class act, but he's inclined to jump low and left, and he does not finish at Grade 1 tracks. So I'd be inclined to take him on. And then I was looking at that Hollywoodian. He's a progressive horse. He did jump better again in Weatherby, the best I've seen him jump, but this is a fair step up. And then I was nearly going to go with that last year's winner, Bold Henry. He's only £4 higher, had a similar prep, second run back. But the fact that Graham Rodway is actually willing to part with money on this race has changed my opinion completely, and I am going to back De Fouet's Dream because I was looking for inspiration and he's given me some.
It was very inspiring as well, wasn't it, the way Graham gave his oratory on that horse. Okay, Rob, who do you think is going to win this one?
Yeah, I think G-Rod's nearly convinced us all. I was very much in the Gardla Victoire camp, and just looking at this lad's form, and he's getting a lot of weight from obviously the top weight. Gardla Victoire is going to be favoured. He's probably going to be around 2-1. He's the class horse, and I think a race like this is well within his grasp. But G-Rod's tip, he's going to be 5 or 6 to 1. I'd say he's definitely going to be the value bet for many.
You truly are a leader of men, G-Rod. Well done. Right, now, the best race on the card by miles, the best race of the day on Saturday is at 3 o'clock. It's the 32 Red Veterans Handicap Chase. We've got 19 runners. They've won about £1 zillion, a zillion races between them. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. 11-year-olds and over only need apply. And let's get a nice full show of betting from Paddy Power. Rob Catson.
Right, OK, as it stands, 6 to 1 about Dynas, we're 8 to 1 Rocky Creek, Gasline Boy and Ariel, 10 to 1 Akin Cloudy 2, Theatrical Star, it's 11's Shule Royale, and it's 12's and bigger the remainder.
G-Rod doesn't like mares races. Where do you stand on veterans races, Brendan? For my money, they're one of the best ideas in recent years. I absolutely love them.
I could not agree more. But you are some glutton for punishment going in for this is the race today, Bruce Willis. It is impossible to find any way. Well, I think I may have found a way, but it's really, I'm reaching here. So it's just loaded with old favourites and old favourites who like to make the running. This race is loaded with pace, and it's going to put a premium on stamina and jumping. So do you know what I ended up putting up?
St. R.
No, because again,
because he fell last time.
Well, no, more the fact that I'm looking for something.
Who do you think he put up, Graham?
Rocky Creek.
No, I don't know what Rocky Creek's going to do from one race to the next. So, but anyway, I ended up going for Astracat, who has been racing forever. As of course he's a veteran and has never tried this trip, but I often thought he was worth a go at it. I don't know why. I mean, Twist Davis knows more than I do, and he decided not to. But he's about 16 to 1. I think being held up will be an advantage in this race. He is a sound jumper. My pin fell on him, but this is a bear of a race.
It's a beauty. I love it. Who do you like, Graham, here?
Yeah, this is a very difficult race. I literally had the whole field on my shortlist.
Right.
I thought it was so hard. Dynast will win if it runs anywhere near his best form, but I mean, we're going back to 2.5 years since he won his last race. That was in the Ryanair 2014. But he does stay 3 miles, and he is particularly well handicapped. He's rated 169 at his peak. He's down to 145. He's short price though. He's coming into 5 to 1. He was a lot bigger than that earlier in the week. However, there was a lot of money for him at Kelso last time when he disappointed in the last qualifier for this race. So there's obviously a bit of confidence that he can find his best form. And I think David Pipe is coming into form too. That yard has had 4 winners since Christmas, which is one of their better runs. They've been quite quiet for the early part of the season. So, yeah, I know he's favourite, but if I had to play, Dine has to be my bet.
OK, and Rob, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in the horse who beat him in Kelso, Gasline Boy. Obviously, with a race like this, I suppose people go down memory lane and you back Dynast in his best form and horses like that. But this lad, he's not running like a veteran. He was third in a Kerry National, and then he absolutely sluiced up at Kelso. Now, obviously, he's worse off with the likes of Cloudy 2 and Dynast and horses like that. But you need horses in form for a veteran's race, and to me, Gasline Boy ticks most boxes.
I'll tell you what, this could be the first ever 19-runner race where I've backed all of the horses in them at least once in their lives. I mean, it's hard not to try and remember a time when you've backed at least one of these, isn't it?
Yeah.
But don't you usually get the odd 10-year-old in these races as well?
No, you do before Christmas, and then after Christmas it's 11,
yes,
isn't it?
yeah,
it's 10
course,
before New Year and 11 after. Right, we'll have a quick break and then we'll mop up the rest of Saturday's stuff.
Get instant access to your winnings with Cashcard Plus, Paddy's brand new card, available to use at ATMs, online or in shops. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.co.uk.
Bruce Millington, Graham Rodway, Brendan Duke and Paddy Powers. Rob Catson are chewing the fat on Saturday's race. And we've looked at the big races at Sandown. Augmenting the ITV4 coverage are 2 at Wincanton, both sponsored by our old mate Bathwick Tyres. I was thinking about Bathwick Tyres. Whenever I go and get my car done and get the tyres done, they never offer me Bathwick tyres, OK? So I went on the internet and looked into it. And in actual fact, they're not a make of tyres. They're a supplier of tyres, exhausts and batteries, but only in the West Country.
I was going to say, yeah.
So that's why...
There aren't many of them in London.
No, there aren't.
I
If you live in the southwest and you like racing, it strikes me Bathwick tyres is a natural option. But unfortunately, we're unable to reward their long and generous sponsorship of racing with any patronage unless we get a puncture when we're on holiday in Devon. But anyway, the 205 at Wincanton is the first. It's the Bathwick Tyres Handicap Chase. G-Rod, who's your idea of the winner?
Yeah, Fox Appeal I like because I backed him last time out, came right back to form on the Dinas kind of angle. He'd gone miles down the weights and finally he cashed in. I'm sure he'll run really well, but Fergal Mayal Dewin, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. We might want to get Brendan in there. Number 6.
I'll try Fergal Maydoun.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm trying.
For Colin Tizard, I thought was nicely handicapped. Was disappointing last time out, but he was an impressive winner first time up and run well next time. I like Fergal Mayal Dune.
Okay, and even after Brendan's pronunciation lesson, you still ballsed it up. Brendan, who do you like?
I really like the Fox Appeal. I mean, he's just sitting there, rated 144 and a note to 145, so he's a big class edge here. Now, he got £11 for the last day when Graham backed him. I didn't back him, so perhaps I've missed the wedding and I'm going to the funeral. But given that he was running off 147 in a Cheltenham Festival handicap last March, I don't think 144 is going to tax him too much. I didn't think this looked a strong race, so I'd say he'd be favourite, but he'd do for me.
Rob, who do you like?
Yeah, when I was looking at this, I thought some buckle would be a lot shorter, but it looks as though he's going to be around 5 or 6 to 1. So he takes obviously a step down in grade after running against the likes of Sarda Grugy and horses like that. So at about 5 or 6 to 1, some buckle for me.
Okay, the 3:15 is the Barthwick Tyres pool handicap hurdle. Tricky, 13 runners. Brendan, who's going to lead them home?
No, well, I think this is above board. This is one the bookies will struggle to be short enough about. I mean, 123 looks a really handy mark. He could do it settling a bit better, but it's only his 4th run, so he's only learning. And again, it just looks an ordinary race. I'd be surprised if he isn't a decent bit better than 123 horse, and I'd say he'll be pretty short tomorrow.
Brendan likes above board. G-Rod, who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, he's got an obvious chance. He could be a bit like that horse last week at Newbury. Was it Geordie Deschamps? It opened at 5 to 1 in the morning, went off, I think, 11 to 8 favourite for JP McManus, of course. Sadly, he didn't win. He found one to get beat. And I
bought SP, so I was absolutely delighted with that outcome.
Yeah, I bet, yeah. Yeah, no, it was a long drive home from Newbury after that, I can tell you. I think.
Oh, really? What price did you get?
Well, I was on at the 5s, yeah.
Oh, God, sorry, I didn't mean to gloat. I didn't realise you'd lumped on.
I was absolutely gutted, especially after the way he travelled. But there you go. He might just travel all over them and win. He's a very likely winner. I've got a soft spot for the bottom one, Trans Express, for Sue and Lucy Gardner. Not the most fashionable of combinations, which always means that you get a nice boost on the price. But the yard is in spectacularly good form, considering the small string that they've had. And this one was quite an impressive winner last time out. Exeter staying on nicely, having been eye-catching at Sandown in a previous run. And the runner-up, Frank the Form, next time. I can see Trans Express offering a bit of value against the favourite. The favourite will be hard to beat above board.
Rob, have you had a long study up on this one?
Yeah, and the lads have taken the words out of my mouth. Above board will be very hard to beat, and Trans Express on that run, he beat Rocklander, and of course he nearly won at Cheltenham on New Year's Day, so they were the two that I was taking against the field. OK, before we get your one best bet of Saturday, is there anything else you would like to put up? We've got the rest of the Sandown card, the rest of the Wincanton card, Newcastle, Wolverhampton, Lingfield and Orgy of all weather stuff, and over in Ireland we've got Cork as well. G-Rod, anything?
Mr. Fireball in the 1:15 at Sandown. It's quite an interesting run. I've just got to get the card up here because it's one of these ones on the new rule, I think. So it's rated 131, but I think there's a new rule that if you can get within a pound or two, then you're allowed in a 130. So a big drop in class, dropping down to a class 3, running off 12 stone, Paddy Brennan on board, was a wildly impressive winner at Newbury last year. Jumped beautifully. I thought this has got potential to be a very useful handicap chaser. Next time out at Aintree, travelled throughout the race, looked like he was going to win nicely, traded at a short price in running, pulled up, but didn't see out the trip. That was 3 mile, 1 furlong. Previous distance at Newbury was 2 miles, 6.5. Last time out at Newbury was 9th. Convinced he needed the run that day. Yeah, I don't think he was anywhere near ready, and again travelled nicely through the race before blowing up. This looks like an ideal opportunity for Mr. Fireball in the 1:15 at Sandown.
Okie doke, Brendan?
I have a few actually. Back to Sandown, the Coeur de Lion is he should be too good in the first race, but I will be keeping an eye on this Royal Reserve, who was a respectful distance behind my Triumph Hurdle fancy, Charlie Parks. So I'll just be interested.
Oh,
to
Charlie
see.
Parks, that did look good, didn't it?
Oh,
Blimey,
that was
O'Reilly.
some round of jumping, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. So I'd just say it'd be interested to see how close Royal Reserve can get to Coeur de Lion.
Okay.
And then the tricky horse to price of the day award goes in the last at Sandown, that Discours d'un Roi, who is an ex-French horse, first run for Nicky Henderson, and has got a mark of 134, which looks really steep given he beat it. The only horse he beat that's run in England has won its last two races, but it's still only rated 105. But if I was back in my odds compiler days, I'd be inclined to put this in a short price and let it drift out as opposed to finding out the other way.
How short do you think? What would your initial stab be?
I'd probably stick him in 4-1, but
Right.
I could easily see him going off 8-1. If they don't think the 134 is any use. But that might mean that the horse is overpriced tonight into tomorrow morning. And one of them might be John Reel. Solid middle distance performer on the flat, rated 97. You'd think there'd have to be some mileage in him off 123 over hurdles.
Okie doke. And Rob, have you got anything else for us before we sound the fanfare or play a little clip of Paul Keeley or whatever we do these days?
Yeah, it's Cork for me. It's a good card of Cork. Ruby and Barrier are both in action. But in the bumper, we've got a Joseph O'Brien trained runner, West Coast time. Patrick's on board. Pretty sure it's the first time Patrick's ridden for Joseph. But it's in the Michael Tabor silks. It's by Westerner out of Refinement. Remember that great mare for John Joe? I'd say they think an awful lot of this West Coast time.
We're not going to get a price, though, are we, with those connections?
Probably not, but might be a horse to back for the Cheltenham bumper beforehand.
Okie doke, good shout. Right, let's get the best bets of Saturday.
If he doesn't win, I will be absolutely staggered.
But that's the voice of Paul Keeley, who is enjoying a 2-week rest. Paul goes on holiday, he never stops working, does he? But we've tried to banish him and keep him out of the building for 2 weeks so that he's recovering on the run up to Cheltenham and fully energised for that. G-Rod, your best bet for Saturday?
It's a bit of a tie between D for Ether's Dream and Mystifiable, but I'll go for Mystifiable.
In the?
I convinced myself with my own argument. 1:15 at Sandown.
1:15 Sandown, Mystifiable for G-Rod, Brendan Duke.
12:45 at Sandown, Tara Flow.
And Rob Catterson.
I'm going to go for your big race of the day, Bruce. Gasline Boy in the Veterans race at Sandown.
Well played, that's the 3 o'clock. OK, we'll have a look at Sunday in just a mo.
Get instant access to your winnings with Cashcard Plus, Paddy's brand new card, available to use at ATMs, online or in shops. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. Gambleware.co.uk.
Hi there, Bruce Millington, Graham Rodway, Brendan Duke and Paddy Powers, Rob Catterson. We've looked at Saturday, now let's look at Sunday, where the spotlight is on Nace. Got a horse here who could be absolutely anything. Running in the 150 is going to be a very short price for the Lawless Hotel Novice Hurdle, a Grade 1, and this is a Grade 1 horse. Death Duty. How short is he, Rob?
Yeah, he's 4-7. He's been 4-7 pretty much all week. And I think they said earlier in the week he was definitely going to run. So we've seen, obviously, no major support for him. Augusta Kate's been the mover last night, obviously, when Connections made up their mind that it looked as though she was going to run. She's 130. Tarkagua also for Willie's a 10-1 chance. Blood Crazed Tigers 10s and it's 20s bar.
Some race, isn't it? Brendan, let's start with you.
Oh, very exciting race. I don't think he'll be as short as that, actually. I think you might get a similar scenario, as Rob was suggesting there, to this invitation only at Navan, when at least you knew Death Duty was running, and no one ever knows what Willie's doing. So Death Duty goes in the price that he's going to run, and then the other ones when they are confirmed, because it looks a deeper race than I thought it was initially going to be, Rob, would you say?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, so I don't think he'd be as short as 4-7. I mean, she's a good mare to give her £7. Tarkagua obviously bolted up latest on the last run. That's Willie. The Bellamy and Blood Crazed Tiger, eye-catching form figures. I don't think he'd be that short, but he wouldn't be one to oppose for me. He's just such a lovely horse. And his jumping the last day, he made 2 or 3 clumsy errors the previous run in Navan, but the last day he never missed a hurdle. And OK, invitation only. I know there's a theory going around that it mightn't have run its race, but I don't think that horse at the Bromheads that was second as any mug, and he kicked it out of the way. Very exciting horse. I think he'll win.
Rob, do you have any appetite to take on the Jolly?
Only if he was around the even money mark. He probably won't be that big, but I suppose if he got close to, like, obviously the the dream scenario is that they come for one of Willie's, and I suppose the obvious one that they're going to back is Augusta Cape with Ruby on board. Willie's thrown 2 daggers at debt duty, but unless he was around the even money mark, you might look for something to finish second. Maybe Tarkagua. They backed him off the boards when he won at Punchestown. He's probably going to go out in front. They changed tactics at Punchestown, and he might give that duty most to do. But unless that duty was at around about the even money mark, what do you say?
Indeed. Okay, at 120 we were hoping to see York Hill, weren't we?
We were, yeah.
Set off on the road to possibly the Racing Post Arc or something else. We still don't know what his target's going to be. I've got half a feeling he might end up in the Champion Hurdle still if something goes wrong with either Annie or Fahim, but obviously we're not going to find that out until much nearer the time.
No, I've news.
Oh, go on.
My most reliable source, well now, I mean, he has made mistakes, of course, because it's Willie Mullins we're dealing with here, but my most reliable source told me over Christmas that Annie Power, in a move that can only be likened to Michael Van Gerwen going back and winning the BDO, is going for the Mayor's Hurdle at Cheltenham. Can you believe this?
No, I can't. Really?
Okay, I hope you're right.
How reliable would your...
He's proven very accurate, given it's Willie Mullins, and it's impossible to know. He's proven more accurate than anyone else I know.
Goodness gracious. So what would the knock-on effect of that be? If we were to base an anti-post strategy around Annie Power going for the Mares...
Well, you'd have to double it with Fahim for the champion.
Would you, though? Or would York Hill come back for the champion and Fahim go for the world?
Well, I think York Hill's going to go for the JLT. I think they're going to stick with Chase. I mean, he did jump very well in...
Definitely JLT, not Racing Post Arkle?
Well, I don't think they'll take on Min.
Okay.
Anyway, that was a segue.
It's one of the most interesting segues we've ever had on this podcast. I mean, if that is true, it'll be a jaw-dropper.
Yeah.
There's not really much point asking, Willie, is there? He's not going to say that is absolutely the plan, yeah.
He might beat his own record of having the next shortest-priced winner ever at the Cheltenham Festival. Surely last year, Duvan was probably the shortest price, certainly in the modern era. And if Annie Power was to run in the Mares, what sort of price would we be looking at?
I know, right.
But the only thing is, she'll be taking on Apple's Jade, so she won't be that short.
Good point. Or would she scare Apple's Jade back into the Champion Hurdle? Who knows? Given that she's a spring filly, we think, don't we? Right, anyway, this 120, there's 4 runners, American Tom, Road to Respect, Sunplan and Stone Hard. Brendan, do you have a strong view on which one will pass the post in front?
I certainly do. I've had a few quid on this American Tom for the JLT. I think he's a really, really top horse. He jumped, he made one slight error on his chasing debut, but I was so impressed with his jumping in general. He's real rhythm, great technique. This is a decent race. I mean, Road to Respect has 2 sound efforts in Grade 1 company. Some plan. I know the ground isn't ideal, but he might have beaten the President at Cheltenham, so it's a decent race, but I expect American Tom to win and win well.
What price Levy, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, given there's 2 solid horses about him, but you can never get short enough about these Willie horses. I was actually having to think about this. I think he'd be odds on.
Yeah.
I know that seems... Oh, you thought he'd be odds on as well?
Well, it's the Willie factor, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, all right. So I was thinking something like 4 to 5.
Righty-ho. Let's have a look. Has anyone got anything else they want to contribute to the rest of the Nace, or indeed the cards in Britain, which are Fontwell Park and Chepstow on Sunday? G-Rod, have you had a little look, or are you all focused on the Saturday stuff?
There was one that I really fancied, Song Sa at Chepstow, but it didn't get declared. And I've not really had time to look at the Fontwell card, as much as I do like a trip down to Fontwell. It's my birthday on Sunday, actually.
Is it, mate?
Yeah.
Well, we'll come to the weekend in a minute, okay?
Okay.
But the big news is also Bathwick Tyres are sponsoring at Chepstow, so they must have outlets there as well. Anything else at Nace, chaps? We'll start with you, Rob Catterson.
Yeah, there was 2. Arvico Blue in the first. It's trained by Henry de Bromma. There was 3rd behind that Silouis Emery at Navan. The word is Silouis Emery could be one of Willie's better novices, so he might be a price. And in the bumper, Robbie McNamara won the last bumper at Leopardstown over Christmas. And when he was obviously talking about the winner, he mentioned this Cosmos Moon, who runs in the first 4-year-old bumper of the year. Finney Maguire's on board in the Mr. Mulligan Silks as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
Okay, Brendan?
No, I've got nothing else, I'm afraid.
Nothing
Bruce.
else to add. Okay, well, let's look at the weekend plans. And G-Rod, big news. First of all, Rob, how old do you reckon G-Rod's going to be? Have you ever seen him?
Just pictures, really.
Okay, well, based on that, how old do you reckon
And they
he'll
were probably
be?
taken 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say he's...
Yeah, we've all got old picture bylines, haven't we?
Yeah, I'd say he's probably in the Paul Keeley era, so he's late 40s.
What? That's absolutely outrageous. You think Graham Rodway's the same age as Paul Keeley?
Oh dear.
Well, I mean, quite apart from anything else, you think Paul Keeley's in the late 40s.
I was trying to be kind.
The irony there is you are absolutely right, but most people think he's in the late 50s. I think Paul's 47. So you've got G-Rod in at 47. Well, look, if this was an over-under, I think there's a 1 to 33 shot waiting for you, Brendan. Come on, what are you going to go, over or under, G-Rod?
Oh, I'd definitely go under. I mean, if you were basing it on hair, you'd say the man is 20. A magnificent head of hair that the G-Rod has on him. But I suppose he hasn't reached his position in the racing post without a bit of work. So I'm going to say 34.
That's not bad. That's bang on,
It's
isn't
absolutely
it?
bang on.
So is that how old you are? Or are you currently double carpet, Graham?
Yeah, currently double carpet, yeah.
You're going to be 34
on
Oh, yeah,
Sunday.
that's
Well, Brendan, you found your new
Absolutely.
vocation in life.
Yeah,
Never mind tipping
fantastic.
horses, tipping people's age. So what's lined up for the birthday then, Graham?
Well, yeah, not much, I don't think. Yeah.
That means Mrs. Rodway's got a surprise planned, I think.
Well, with Sandown and Fontwell both within range, I would quite like a racing weekend, but the missus is never gonna get past her on the birthday weekend. So I hope that she's got something really exciting planned instead.
Really?
But I've got no idea.
And what sort of budget would she spend for your presents, do you think? What would
God.
What would they be
It's
worth?
probably like a pair of socks or something like that.
Oh,
yeah.
you don't go mad, no?
No, we're not big present buyers between each other, but that died out years ago.
Yeah,
sadly.
there's no point, is there?
No, it's
Got
just
everything you need, haven't you?
yeah. She knows what I like.
So you're not sure what you're doing Sunday. Saturday, have you got any plans?
No, I think that she is planning something. Oh, I hope so.
I think it could be a surprise party round at Chateau Rodway.
I hope
That's what it
not.
sounds
I
like.
really hope not. Yeah.
Now, Brendan, a lot of people will be hanging on for this particular moment to find out if there's any developments in the old love life.
Well, there have been some developments, Bruce. There's some good news and some bad news. So which would you like first?
We'll have the good news.
Well, the good news is I have a date tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. And
Yeah.
what's the news? What's the form guide? What's the profile picture look like?
Oh, this is the problem, actually. She's probably a bit too good looking. I go weak in the presence of beauty. And I think this guy, I met Rachel Riley once and I nearly hyperventilated. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to cope. She's a very good looking girl.
Is she?
Yeah, I'm more of a girl next door kind of, But
Are you
but
not
still-
suspicious of some of these profile pictures, though? Or have you actually met her?
No, I haven't met her. I didn't think it. I'm quite a trusting soul, actually. This is another thing I have to worry about. Thanks for that.
Well, they never quite live up to reality, from what I'm told. I remember the Christmas episode of The Office where David Brent has that date, and he's extremely dismayed when she actually turns up. But you've got high hopes for this one, have you?
Yes. Well, she's a chef.
Is she?
I am a keen eater. So we're a match made in heaven, aren't we?
It puts a bit of pressure on in terms of venue, though, doesn't it? You can't really scrimp on that one, can you?
No, I'm taking her to Beef and Lobster. It's a place in town, and it's
What sort of food is that?
Well, this is it. It's a very interesting concept. There are only 5 things on the menu: 2 beef, 2 lobster, and a surf and turf. Because choice is a paradox. People don't want choice.
Of course, you're absolutely right there, mate. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take her there.
And in terms of budget, would that be one of the higher end ones in Dub?
I didn't actually check on the price, but I'd say so because of its location, Parliament Street. The rents be pretty steep there. Like they'd have to charge for.
Okay, and
for
which
location.
cologne will you wear? How many bottles of cologne do you have to choose from when you're going out on one of these dates?
I have about 10 due to various Christmases, but I don't wear cologne.
You don't?
No.
I reckon you should.
No,
Because
no.
you got 10 bottles and they're just sitting there doing nothing, but it can't do any harm.
Go on.
Well, I'd have a little thing. I'd give yourself a squirt of cologne. We'll see how you get on because you're back on quite soon. So that's tomorrow night, isn't it? Oh, what's the bad news? Hang on.
Well, I respect you as a dating coach. Okay, I'll try a bit of cologne. Oh, the bad news is, well, a couple of young ladies knocked on my door recently, and some of my best dreams have started that way. So I answered them anyway, and one of them was an absolute 10, an American. Delph like Donny Osmond, this girl. But turns out they wanted to talk to me about God. Yeah, now for a brief second I thought this was to do with Tiger's comeback, but no, it was actually to do with, God, the big guy upstairs. So that was a bit disappointing.
Short shrift, or did you go with it for a bit just to see if it might develop?
Well, she was so beautiful. I had a quick hyperventilate, and then I said, "Oh no, you're wasting your time here." And then she flashed me a smile.
Maybe this is new tactics from these guys, though. Usually when these guys coming around banging on about God at my flat, it's some old guy who's like 50, and he slammed the door straight in their face. But I mean, if it's a couple of beautiful women, you might give them maybe a little bit longer than you would.
But you're still low. I mean, it's very difficult to deal with the zealous Graham. Like the third date conversation is very tricky there, isn't it?
Did you let her thrust the pamphlet into your hand at least? Or were they not proffering pamphlets?
No, she hadn't got to the pamphlet stage. I just told her she was wasting her time. I didn't want to. We had a moment, and then she moved on.
Oh, well. I don't necessarily call that bad news. I think that's all right.
Yeah.
Will you be taking him racing at all this weekend?
Yes, I'm going to Nace on Sunday. Go and see Death Duty. Quite the specimen he is too. It'll do my heart good to have a look at him.
Excellent stuff. And Rob, what about you? What have you got lined up for this weekend?
Yeah, pretty boring compared to what Brendan has. Just back from Spurs beating Chelsea, so I'll be in the office all weekend. And
you're a Spurs fan, are you?
Yeah,
and you flew
Spurs
over
fan.
just for that game?
Went over Wednesday morning, myself, my dad and my sister, stayed over, and then came back last night, so it was good.
Class.
We got
Good,
the result.
weren't
Yeah, got the result, yeah.
I think they can win the league. I think they're value.
We need to buy, I think, in this window, we need to buy someone big.
Well, you can do. That's possible. OK, chaps, excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed for your input. We are back on Monday to review the racing, and then we're also back next Friday looking ahead to what have we got on the weekend after next? Is that Warwick meeting? Is it No, I think it's Warwick, isn't it, for sure? But anyway, we will have a star cast lined up for that, so do please join us then.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile